I've grown up as a Māori through the healthcare system and the education system that's failed me, and the oranga tamariki system that's failed me. And I know what it's like to be that brown kid that goes through the system and gets let down. So I would never be part of an organisation that I felt wanted to destroy hopes and dreams of Māori.
So my upbringing, I think, actually had different worlds in it. Mum coming from Scots and Irish descent, and Dad being Māori. So it was a bit hard from my perspective and my sister's perspective to have an understanding of our culture when our father was immersed in it but didn't want to share it. It's a journey that we're all taking in my family to get to know more about our heritage on our Māori side, and we're loving what we're learning so far.
The fact that I'm Māori doesn't change anything about me except that I'm Māori. I'm still a person just like anyone else who's Māori or not, with a set of dreams and aspirations and hopes and things I like and don't like and things I'm good at and things I'm not so good at. That's who I am, and I think we should each view ourselves as a human being, acknowledging the fact that we're Māori, or whatever background we may have, along with the other attributes we have.
Well, apparently I've been told I'm racist, I'm a Tupperware Māori, the latest one is I'm a Polynesian. I don't think I'm racist for wanting the best for everybody. I don't think unifying even meets the definition of being racist. And I think that those people that bandy those words around actually have no understanding of what that word means. I'm not racist. I'm a tough, staunch Ngāpuhi woman who thinks that everybody should have the ability to embrace their own tikanga and have it respected in this country. I've only been to Waitangi once so far, and the calm that I feel when I've got there, although I don't expect there'll be that much calm when we get there this time, but I do expect that the wairua of the place will take over.
There's people who have said that ACT is trying to abolish the Treaty of Waitangi. When we say mana for all, when we talk about a treaty principles bill, what we're really talking about is Parliament defining the principles of the treaty. The principles are something that was set out by Parliament as existing. Parliament said there are principles. It didn't say what the principles actually mean or what they are. It said someone else worked that out. The Waitangi Tribunal can work it out. The courts can work it out. Public service can work out how to interpret it when they give effect to the principles. But Parliament, the democratically elected organ of the people, has never actually said what the principles are. What we're saying is Parliament should say that. There's people who say that that's trying to get rid of the treaty. Well, actually, you can't have principles without the treaty, so that's clearly illogical. People say that we're meddling with the treaty. Well, actually, for the last 40 years, some combination of the Waitangi Tribunal, the courts, the public service, they've all been making up their mind about what the principles are. I'm just saying it's time for Parliament, on behalf of the people, to have a say as well. If what we're doing is meddling, well, actually, a lot of people have been meddling.
Yes, we did sign a treaty, and yes, there are aspects in it that need to be respected. But we've had changes particularly over the last 6 years, where a conversation was not had with everybody about what those changes may mean. ACT is saying it's time to have that conversation. It doesn't mean we're going to get rid of the treaty. We're not going to eradicate the treaty. We want to make sure that it is fit for purpose for modern day. I'm really, really humbled to have been given the opportunity to speak, be one of the first speakers at Waitangi this year. It's quite nerve-wracking for me because it's such a privilege, but I like the opportunity that I've got, which is actually to be able to express that I am Māori, I am a part of the kaupapa, of the tikanga, and I want to be a part of a really futuristic New Zealand that supports and protects that, as well as enabling us to embrace it for everyone. We have to live under the same law. We've got to make sure that we can live together and work together. And I'm really happy that Waitangi is the place where we're going to start that conversation.
Nutirene e nāna ana mātou te kōrero mō ngā motika o te tiriti ki roto e tēnei ao hau. Ao whakāhuria kia motu hake.
The treaty itself is a remarkably short document. It has 3 articles. There were 2 versions. Obviously, any document that's 184 years old that has a variety of interpretations and controversy is going to have people with different views on it. But what I read in the Māori version is that the government has the right to govern, that we all have tiro rangatiratanga, or the right to self-determine, and that we all have ngā tikanga katoa ritetahi, or the right to be the same, to be equal, the same tikanga for all. And that's pretty simple. One government, everyone gets to self-determine, everyone has the same rights and duties. It's a pretty awesome foundation for a country, a voluntary agreement that delivered mana for all. What I oppose is the interpretation that said, oh, no. Actually, what happened is that Queen Victoria decided to go into partnership with just some citizens, just some people in the world. They would then have different rights from everybody else within New Zealand society. Well, the principles currently really aren't defined. I mean, there's been several attempts at it. So there was the 1987 court case, known as the Lands case, where the Maori Council asked the court to define the principles after Parliament said they existed, but no one knew what they were. 2 years after that, the Longi government in 1989 set out principles that said the Crown has the right to govern, we're all equal before the rule of law, that there's a partnership, that there's got to be protection, that there's got to be participation, and that somehow the Crown had additional duties to Māori than it had to other citizens was kind of the outcome of that, the way that it's been interpreted. And that's why we say that we need to assert the principles are that everyone has the same rights and duties. Well, there's many pieces of legislation which say that this government department or people following this particular law must give effect to or follow the principles of the treaty. So what these principles are has a huge effect on how government departments organise themselves. And so long as the principles mean that if you're Māori you have a different place in New Zealand, a different set of rights because the Queen made a partnership with you but not anyone else, then you have a recipe for 2 kids born in New Zealand on the same day in the same circumstances to be treated differently based on their ancestry, and that is an idea that we should always oppose. We believe that each person, by virtue of being a human being, whether you're gay or straight, man or woman, old or young, rich or poor, live on the North Island or the South Island, if you're born in New Zealand, then you have a certain amount of rights and dignities that come from your universal humanity. That is such an important value, and what astonishes me is how easily so many people who say they stand up for human rights, people in the media, people in the public service, dare I say it, some people in the courts, have been prepared to say, oh no, there is a different set of rights for people who are treaty partners. Tangata whenua, land people, have a different set of rights from tangata tiriti, treaty people. They've just completely forgotten about equal rights and said this conception of the treaty that was really only invented since the 1980s trumps everything else. Well, actually, I think our universal humanity trumps that interpretation, and it's time for people to have a say and say the treaty means mana for all.
Tiro rangatiratanga for all. But we cannot have true mana, we cannot self-determine if it's too hard to build a home because the government has basically made it impossible. Those are the true cobwebs. Those are the true spiders, the ideas that hold us back from providing for ourselves. And if there's anybody who is up for a fight with the states and excessive regulation, bad social services, not enough choice, things that don't work for the taxes you pay, well, guess what? You're looking at it.
When we get to the point where we're even attacking each other, that we definitely know we're on the wrong path. We need to stand together, united as one. All New Zealanders have the same rights and duties, because if we start categorising each other, where does it stop? So it might just not be you're Māori, you're non-Māori. It'll be you're this kind of Māori and you're that kind of Māori. When do we stop boxing people into categories and actually starting looking at people as people?
I think a lot of people, when they hear someone talking about issues of race, assume that that means they're racist. For me, racism is when you put a person's ethnicity above and ahead of any other characteristic they have. For me, people are made up of many different attributes, where they're from geographically, their gender, their sexuality, their personality, how they think, their attitude to things, what they do for a job, how old they are. People have so many characteristics. For me, what is racist is that government policy lately, and in some people's attitudes. Your ethnic background trumps everything else, and that's the lens through which we look at people. That's what we're opposed to. We want to focus on the whole person.
To me, the treaty is about protecting people's property rights, their self-determination. It's about us all living together as one, equally under the same laws. It's about having the same responsibilities. It's about having the same obligations, the same opportunities as everybody else, so that we can all thrive. I am so proud of my Māori heritage. I'm so proud of Māori initiatives that are out there. But what I don't want to see is when we have Māori take precedence over everybody else. And I don't want to see everyone else taking precedence over Māori.
This country at its best is a place that believes in universal human rights. And by that, I mean the same mana for all. We each have a right to dignity, respect, to flourish, be proud of who we are. My challenge is, should the treaty afford mana to some at a different rate from others? If that's what people think it means, then I think it's going to be really difficult to make progress on the serious practical problems we have. On the other hand, if you see the treaty as giving the government the right to govern, all people tiraranga tiratanga, and all people ngā tikanga katoa ritatahi the same rights and duties. If you see it that way, then that gives everybody the same mana for the fact that they are human beings and they're part of this country. And I think that's a much better way to go forward than what is being proposed by so many people on the other side.
Stop listening to the chatter that's going on around you and actually go and investigate it for yourself. Because once you're told that you're being divisive, you can't understand why, when you read our papers, why you would think that we're being divisive when we're just wanting to have that conversation. Get an agreement across the country. You know, at the end of the day, whether the bill continues to go through or not, at least the conversation has been had, and New Zealanders will know where they fit within this multi-modern ethnic society.
At the end of the day, I want every person in New Zealand to be able to achieve their dreams, to aim high, to survive and thrive. And that's my target, that's my goal, especially in the young people and children's space. You should be allowed to dream. You should be allowed to have these dreams and goals and know that actually this is a possibility that I can do this. We need to look at the positive more than we're looking at the negative, and that's where we're heading. I don't want to take anything away from anybody. I actually want to give as much as I possibly can so that we have a positive future.